Mindful Life Practice community.
Have Kuwait, we have Norway, we have Virginia and Maryland, and we have Abu Dhabi, and we have Wawa, Ontario, and we have the UK, right, Farron? Yeah, UK, great. and Abu Dhabi and Montreal, Canada. Cool. This is awesome. All right. So we are having our yin practice tonight. Per request, we're going to work on the hips. Let me put myself on spotlight. I used to be like really into doing hips, and then I kind of tried to switch to other body parts. And anyway, this morning we were talking, and everyone just said they wanted hips, so we're just going to go back to hips. Nice to have a pillow or a bolster nearby. Yeah, and then we're going to get started. So why don't we bring ourselves into a child's pose? Supporting yourself in any way that feels good for your body. I have a bolster in between my knees, and I'm just resting my head down on the mat. And then turn your attention towards your breath. Taking deep inhales in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let your breath help you bring your awareness into the present moment. As best you can. Can you gently listen to the sounds around you? Can you feel the sensations in your body? Feel what's going on in your mind. There are days when my mind is really busy and a yin pose just totally slows it down. Then I have days like today where I feel like my mind is like trailing behind. Thoughts are just floating in and out like clouds. So just tap into and develop an awareness of what is going on within you today. What's happening in this moment? If you want to join me for just a little mantra meditation to help us come into the present moment, on the inhale, we're going to say here. On the exhale, we'll say now. Inhale here. Exhale now. the most important thing we learn from our yoga practice, it's presence. And the Yoga Sutras calls avidya the habit of the mind to disconnect from the present, to wander into worlds of its own. The problem is that we're in the habit of unplugging from the present moment and plugging into an imaginary world without realizing we've done it. Hence the word avidya. It means not seeing things as they are. Tonight we're going to keep our intentions simple. We're going to target a deep hip release. And we're going to have an intention to keep coming back to the present moment. Keep returning to this space and the sensations. If you have any other intention that inspired your practice, any other reason for why you are here today, just take a moment to establish and identify that now. And then we're just going to do a little bit of gentle movement before we drop into stillness. So if you have a pillow or a bolster or something underneath you, just slide it to the side. And then on an inhalation, come all the way up into a table. And then let's just use our breath to move through some cat-cow flows. So inhaling, arching your back, tilting your gaze up. This is your cow. And then exhaling, curling the spine, tucking the chin, coming into your cat. And feeling the articulation of each vertebrae moving with each breath. Almost imagining the breath rippling like a wave through the body. Moving gently, fluidly, smoothly. And then take one more round. And then bring your spine all the way back into neutral. And then let's just kind of create a C curve with the spine. So almost like a dog looking for his tail. And then C curve the opposite way. So you're turning over and looking over the shoulder towards the hip. Taking a few more just like this. And then take one more of each. And come all the way back through center, and let's just gently do a little stretch through the shoulder blades. So peel your left arm up towards the sky, big twist and spread through your collarbone, and then thread your left arm under, landing a left cheek, tenting through the fingertips. How does this feel in your shoulders today? What is happening between them? Take one more breath. And then come all the way back through center. And then we'll twist the opposite way. So your right arm is gonna lift all the way up. And then you will thread the right arm under, landing onto the right shoulder, resting the cheek, maybe tenting through the left fingertips, and then just feeling out what's happening in your back. Take one more breath. And then we're gonna come all the way up through center. All right, so the first yin pose that we're gonna get into, it's going to be a dangling pose, so like a waterfall pose. When I teach this posture in the studio, I will often tell people to use blocks and make a little table with a bolster, because you're gonna come onto your feet and like hinge forward. Now, I'm aware that most of you don't have blocks and bolsters. The fun thing I've learned from teaching yoga at home is that you often don't really need a lot of these stuff anyway. You can use a chair, right? You can dangle over the chair, elbows on the chair, works just as well. Or if you're good with gravity and you don't need the prop, you can also just dangle like this. So the intention being that you've found a posture that is comfortable, so knees bent, trying to be gentle on the low back, trying to let your torso almost land on your thighs if you can. And then I like to grip opposite elbows and then just let the head dangle. By the way, I haven't said hi to Hug yet, who just came in. Good morning, Hug. Hug's another one of our yoga teachers in Halifax. Oh, and Nasser's here. Nasser remembers Hug from Kuwait. Aw, Hug's camera's off, but you can say hi after. All right, so this idea of being able to tap into the present moment as students and teachers of yoga. I have to tell you that I spent like my first 4 years as a yoga student feeling like a bit of a fraud, because I felt like everyone else in the room was able to come into the present moment except me. Teachers were always saying, be in the moment, you know, let go. And I was like, but how? How do you do that? Like many of us, we end up in yoga because of our pain. Whether it's physical pain, whether it's, for me, it was mental health that brought me to yoga. Everyone has different reasons for being here. But often we come to yoga because we're looking for something or we're missing something.
And for me, I was suffering with mental health challenges, and so teachers telling me to be in the moment, you know, I was like, I can't do that. And what I've learned over the years is that there's no right or wrong way to do this. And there are days when it comes easily and days when it comes really, really hard. And there are days when some tools work, and there are days when some tools do not. One of the simplest ones to start with is just focusing on the breath. So let's use it in this pose as we dangle, feeling the inhale come through both nostrils, filling the lungs and the chest. And when you exhale, can you soften a little deeper into the shape? Breathing in, filling the lungs, filling the chest. Exhaling, empty and soften. And then keep going like this. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to be here for 5 more rounds of breath. The most important thing here is, while you're trying to be in the present moment, don't judge yourself if you're not. Can't tell you how many times I sat in meditation thinking I'm so bad at this. There's no such thing as being bad or good at meditation. It's just a practice. It's just a state. Elizabeth Gilbert, she wrote, if you sit down with pure intention to meditate, then why are you judging your experience? Let's remain in this forward fold for 1 more round of breath. And then release the grip of your palms. Can you roll all the way up to stand, slowly, 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 stacking one vertebrae upon the next, one at a time? And then you'll bring yourself up to a Tadasana. I promise this is the only standing pose we do. Let's practice presence by feeling the sensations in our body. So can you feel all 4 corners of the feet planted on the mat? This quote I posted on Instagram: notice the ground beneath your feet holding you up when you thought you would sink. Maybe you feel a slight lift through your inner arches. Your legs supporting you, and then can you feel your spine vertebrae upon vertebrae? Do you have a tendency to lean forward or lean back? Soften your shoulders. Then just allow the effects of that forward fold to wash over you. What has shifted or what has moved in your body since taking that shape? The eyes are closed. We'll gently bring them open. All right, so we're going to come into 2 hip openers. We're going to take 2 on the right side, 2 on the left side. Classic lizard and then pigeon, which have different names in yin. Dragon and then swan. So if you want to have a cushion underneath your knee, that can be nice for the first one. The first one we're going to take is our lizard pose, which is our left knee on that cushion, and then your right foot is going to come forward. And then your right toes can maybe come off the side of the mat if you like, maybe rolling onto the outer edge of the right foot. And then with the knowledge that we are going to be here for 3 minutes, coming to your edge. So it might be here on the hands. If even that feels like a lot, you could be up on like some blocks. And if you want a bit more depth, maybe coming forward onto the elbows. So I am aware there are a lot of yoga teachers in the room tonight. It's like 5 of them. Yin poses have different names than yang poses. The reason being is that the intention in yin is so different than the intention in like our power, our yang classes. So in our yang classes, like vinyasa, we're really like putting in an active effort. And in yin yoga, the intention is to be more subtle and gentle with your approach. Coming to your personal edge, but not pushing yourself past it. And staying at that edge. And then trying to commit to stillness. So of course, if you have pain, definitely appropriate to back off. But if it's just a little bit of discomfort, can you lean into it and explore that? Yasmin, who is here, my podcast co-host, she said the other night that this quarantine is like one long meditation. And it's been an experience for all of us in learning how to sit in our discomfort. Right? Discomfort is hard. Boredom is hard. But these pains, they're essential to our growth. It's part of the beauty of life. It teaches us. We're going to hold this pose for like 5 more breaths. I remember where I was going with that train of thought, and then I totally lost it. I'll continue it on the next pose. Take 4 more breaths. And then just slowly make your way up. And then between poses, so before we take our pigeon, you can take any rebound you like. You can come to seated. I'm gonna lay down on my navel. You can also lay down on your back. It's up to you. You just want to choose a shape that it'll be like a container. My friend Kat said in our podcast episode, it's like a container to hold you. The intention with a rebound is to let the pose wash over you. And acknowledge what has shifted as a result of it. Taking one more breath. And then take the palms under the shoulders. Slowly coming all the way up into your table. And then we're gonna carry on working with the same side. So we're gonna be working with the right side. We're gonna drop into a swan pose. So we're gonna take the right foot forward and then walk the right shin across the width of the mat towards the left. Swan is code for pigeon, by the way, in Yin, if you're like, what? It's like a pigeon pose, but in Yin. So right shin goes across the width of the mat, and then you start to lean down. Now, if this doesn't feel good for your knees, there's a few options. You can bend the back knee and come off of the back knee if it's too much pressure. That's one variation. And then another thing you could do is your thread the needle. So anyway, what I was gonna say about the names of yin and yang poses before my mind trailed off was that the reason why I use yang words so frequently in yin, it's because I came from like this really intense hot yoga background. I only did hot yoga like every day, sometimes many times a day. And it was only when my practice kind of evolved as I matured I realized that it's really important to kind of try to bring a bit of equilibrium, a bit of balance into your yoga practice. Right? If you're always doing hot, sweaty power yoga, then you're just catering to the part of your mind that lives in the busyness of 2020 and wants to go, 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 go. And sometimes that is what you need. But our yin practice kind of taps into the parasympathetic nervous system. It cools us down. And I think we need a little bit of both. And we need to find that perfect balance of activating our yang, but also activating our yin. So anyway, I finally got converted over to the dark side, and now I also teach yin. But that little part of me that was like hot yoga Alex sometimes pops up, and that's who's talking when she says pigeon and lizard. You guys are pros, you know what you're doing. You can figure it out. So we're gonna stay here for 5 more breaths. And then just slowly peel your way up. Bringing yourself back into a rebound pose. I'm going to take seated this time, but it's up to you. Just let that pose wash over you. So nice to see so many of you. Sometimes I teach Zoom classes where it's like just me and a bunch of black screens. One class in particular, actually, I teach a private yoga class for local women, and they can't be on camera because their hair needs to be covered. Anyway, I just feel like I'm teaching to no one, but they're all there. They're all commenting in the chat that they enjoyed it. But anyway, there's something so important about human connection, and so nice to see you. Stop talking. I'll leave you to your rebound for 5 more inhales and exhales. Maybe noticing in particular how different your right side feels to your left. So we've worked on targeting the right side tonight in these past 2 poses. And when you're ready, we're going to move in towards the left. So slowly making your way up. Nice. Beautiful. And then making your way first to that dragon. Yeah, you got it. So cushioning your right knee. And then taking a step forward with your left foot. Left foot goes wider than your palms. And then, yeah, moving into your depth. It might be on the palms. It might be on the elbows. We had this amazing Yin teacher at a live yoga, Mihaga and Nasser. Her name was Tara. And what I remember about Tara was that she was like uber strict on if you were moving out in your yin shape, it was only to move deeper. It wasn't to release. It wasn't to take off the tension. So I think her idea with that rule was to be really aware of where your edge is when you start. Like, don't dive way too deep into a pose and then have to back off later on. Anyway, it was brutal because my ego would always get the best of me and I would want to be like there with my elbows on the ground. And then, 3 minutes later, you're still in the pose and you're dying. So find your edge. An edge that you can commit to for about 2 more minutes. And try to resist the mind popping up and telling you to fidget, to move. See what happens when you stay in the stillness. Will that desire to move pass? Can you breathe through it? I used to always say at the start of this quarantine, like 75 days ago when I was teaching Yin, I used to always say, you're not going to be in this pose forever, just like you're not going to be in this quarantine forever. Joke's on us, here we are 75 days later. But seriously, you're not going to be here forever. Remind yourself that. This too shall pass. Let's just give it 3 more breaths. And then come up onto your palms. Just slowly bring your way back into a rebound pose. Whatever that is. Let the shape wash over you. And then we'll move into that sleeping swan on the left side. So when you're ready, moving slowly and mindfully. And this time your left shin will lay across the width of the mat and you'll snuggle your right knee back. And then come forward. Maybe resting onto the elbows. So why is it that I have such a thing with hip themed classes? I believe that there are a couple of hot spots in the body where we carry our stress and our trauma and our troubles. And one of those areas is the hips. And why are the hips so central to this? Well, physically, we're sitting all the time. Sitting in the car, sitting at our desks. So physically, they can be tight. But 2, I think it's kind of like the emotional junk drawer. You know, that drawer in the house where you just put all your stuff. That's like what the hips are. I read something on Instagram the other day. It said, if we cry when we're sad, then what other proof do we need that emotions become physical within us? And so doing physical practices like yin or like our roll and release are really important because they tap into these areas in the body of tightness, and they allow us to move through it and let go. Just another minute here. Breathing, sending deep breaths into whatever areas of tightness you're sensing. Got this, just 3 more breaths. And then slowly come all the way up out of it. One more rebound pose. I'm going to come into a meditation or just a seated sukhasana, not a meditation seat for a few breaths. So the last posture that we're going to take tonight, we're going to take a little bit of a heart opener and a hip opener. So we're going to come into a supported Baddha Konasana, supported butterfly. If you don't have bolster and blocks, you can just prop yourself up with pillows. I usually use the pillows from my couch because they're a bit more sturdy. I just realized when I switched into my bedroom, the bedroom pillows for me are a bit too soft to create a ramp. So anyway, try to find something that's supportive. If you do have a bolster and a block, which you might because we do have a lot of yoga teachers in here, you can also create a ramp bolster thing. By the way, we are working on mindful life practice merchandise, so we will have blocks soon for our community. But for now, we got to modify. Books can also be useful. I create a little bit of a ramp on the medium and then high side of the blocks. And then lay my spine over the bolster. Press the soles of feet together. Let the knees knock wide. And by the way, if you don't want to be in butterfly, you don't have to be. For some people, that's not a comfortable position. And you can also extend the legs. You can have knees bent. Up to you. So this is super nice because we've done a lot of forward folding tonight. Actually, every pose has pretty much been a forward fold. So what this is giving us is an opportunity to counter that with a back bend. The most important thing that we learned from our yoga practice, it's presence. Vidya, the habit of the mind to disconnect from the present and wander into worlds of its own. And the problem is that we're in this habit of unplugging from the present world and plugging into an imaginary one.
without even realizing we've done it. And avidya means not seeing things as they are. Living beings, they make choices on their sense of what's going on around them. Right? The dog sees a squirrel and it attacks. The squirrel sees a dog and it runs. But we see a sunset and we think of who we'd like to share it with and how much they would have loved it. And all the while, we're missing the feeling of the breeze on our skin. Right? The problem begins and ends with our inability to connect with life in the only time and the only place it ever happens, which is now. The Yoga Sutras starts with the phrase, and now is all. Now, that is all. And the rest, it's just made up. So the solution, it's relearning our connection to the now. Like a wave that's forgotten the ocean, the solution is to feel back into the ocean. Live from that connection. Trying to increase the amount of joy we can experience in our everyday life. Connecting to the body, connecting to the breath, connecting to the mind, connecting to the moment, trying to hold our connection to the moment like the sky holds the weather. And through this practice, we're learning to let go of the drama, to practice connection. And this is the most important thing. Right? We're part of something. That something exists right now. And yoga is how we connect to the now. That's all. And so if you are happy here in this heart opener, feel free to stay for your final resting pose. And if you want to come into a full shavasana or whatever shape, also feel free. Let the posture be one that allows you to kind of rest and process everything that you just experienced. I'm going to leave you with silence for a few minutes in our Shavasana. Connecting to the present moment in whatever way you wish. And knowing that I will bring you back when the time is up. Please bring positivity into my life every day. Please bring positivity into my life every day. Please bring only joy and peace and everything that is love. Please bring only joy and peace and everything that is love. Please bring positivity into my life every day. Taking a big breath in, filling through your lungs and your chest and your whole torso. Exhaling empty. And then start to wake up and stretch through your body. Making your way with no urgency up to meet in a seated position. Connect your palms at your heart center and lengthen up through the spine.
There is this undeniable energy when you walk into a room of people practicing yoga together. And while we're not in the physically same room right now, I can feel that energy, and I hope that you feel it too, whichever continent you're on, whichever country you're in. If you would like to join me for an Om sound, we will inhale, exhale, and then inhale through to make the Om. So taking a breath in, breath out, breath in. Thank you so much for sharing the space and the practice. The light that is within me sees and honors the light that is within you. Om Shanti Shanti, peace. Namaste.
The Mindful Life Practice Community.